We start out with event number 1 here, and it's going to be a relay.
It's a relay event where male, female, and then the other male females are going to go through one at a time with 25 overhead squats and then 150 double unders. Each athlete will perform that. There's a different weight. The weights get heavier per athlete when they go through the barbell. And then once all of that work is completed, then the team has to go through a handstand walk relay through the obstacles.
And a look at how they're going to line up here in heat number 1 of event number 1 on day number 1 of the East Regional in Albany, as we are about set for the start. And there they are. And there's a familiar name in lane number 10, CrossFit New England, of course. Coach Ben Bergeron puts out a lot of individual athletes, and of course they are a former Affiliate Cup champion. A much different roster from the Affiliate Cup champion, but boy, that box puts out just a lot.
Well, and that's what happens when you're working out and you are training alongside of the best in the world. You can't help but get better. And one of those athletes is Tori Dyson, who is on CrossFit New England's team, and she will be the one and only athlete that has been to the regionals. Last year was her individual rookie season here at the regional. She took 8th as an individual, so I expect to see her lead the team because she's the only one with the experience.
We start things out with the 25 overhead squats. They'll do that right now at 135 pounds.
And so 25 overhead squats, that's a number you don't want to sneeze at. I mean, you have to focus, you have to really kind of dial in your shoulders. And what these overhead squats are going to do, they're going to tax your shoulders just a little bit. And then when you go to these 150 double unders, it's going to be a little bit more taxing. So the weight on the barbell for these guys is the lighter barbell first. So 135 pounds what the guys just did the overhead squats with, and people are finishing up. Really, this is just going to be a taxing, just that number that you really should hold on for.
Right now, they're into their set of 150 double unders. Then we'll do 75, then advance to the next 75. It looked like North Haven CrossFit in the red shorts, black top near the top of your screen in that top blue lane was the first to get onto the double unders, followed by CrossFit Garden City and Flower City CrossFit in lane 6 and 7. And there you go in lane 4, red shorts, black top. That is North Haven CrossFit out of North Haven, Connecticut. They finished 13th in the Northeast, 137th worldwide in the Open.
And despite this being the first heat of our teams, North Haven CrossFit, all members of their team have past regional experience, which tells me they also all have handstand walking experience because we've seen handstand walking in previous regionals for the teams. So if you're a team that has 4 members who can handstand walk and do it well, you're going to attack this event differently than other teams. Other teams are going to have to just preserve the shoulders, take this portion of the event a little slower to save up really for that second sprint on the handstand walks.
North Haven has their first male across on the red shorts, so they have the overall lead. They're in lane number 6. You just saw CrossFit Garden City in the purple top and the black pants, and right next to him in the gray top in lane 7, black pants, that's Flower City CrossFit. So again, it goes North Haven, Garden City, Flower City, your top 3. And there is a look at the first female athlete coming out at CrossFit Garden City in the purple tank top. Next to her in the gray, that's Flower City. Right now, they stand 2 and 3 here in heat number 1.
Stabilizing that bar overhead for the ladies at 95 pounds. It's not that heavy on the women's side for a barbell, so I expect to see the ladies go through these a little bit quicker. However, sometimes they're not as strong with handstand walking, the ladies, depending on their shoulder strength. So a lot of these ladies have good flexibility. They're able to get that full range of motion, which is your hip crease below your knee, and then they stand all the way back up to that full extension.
And there went North Haven CrossFit, their first female, red shorts, gray top, just on the center of your screen. So again, North Haven continues to lead this. They will be the first with the females onto the double unders. So just get into that steady pace there.
And the key is just to stay relaxed. The steady pace, like you said, is really just to maintain your breathing. Don't get too tense. Keep a nice relaxed arm and a nice lower jump. Be a little more efficient with that jumping so you're not taxing yourself.
Right here in the blue shorts, black tank top. Looks like that's Move Fast Freedom out of CrossFit Athletic Academy in Holbrook, New York. So they're starting to make a move, and they are. So it's Move Fast Freedom and Flower City there in the gray top. There went Garden City in the purple top. So Move Fast Freedom starting to make a little bit of a move.
And again, this first portion of the workout, this first relay, they have to get all the athletes through. So even though these ladies are going a little quicker here, they're racing, really it's going to come down to what they can do on the handstand walk. So some of them want to go quicker and allow their team as much time as possible on the handstand walks.
Here we go again at CrossFit North Haven. They have their first set of double unders. Did have a question the athlete briefing because athletes at this level, as you know, have the capability of going 100, 150 unbroken, but they do have to do the 75 break and then move to the next 75.
And that right there, when you know you have a built-in rest, it does throw off your game plan. It allows you to know, well, then do I push to get to that 75? You're good. Athletes that can double under well will do 75, and it shouldn't tax them too much. And you're happy that you got a breather, because that's when you know you have the potential or the possibility to do 150. Then you know, well, do I do it and just smoke my shoulders or not?
Yeah, the athletes on the side to your right are their first 75. The ones that are on to the left are the second set of 75, the 150 double unders, and there it goes. North Haven CrossFit, they just maintained that overall lead. Finishing up there was Lauren DeCessi. And again, they were 13th in the Northeast, 137th worldwide out of North Haven, Connecticut. So here we go, the second set of males. And again, North Haven CrossFit, red shorts, black top. And down here at the bottom, you'll look at Flower City CrossFit in the gray top. And in lane number 8, again, making a move is Move Fast Freedom, blue bottoms, black t-shirt. Tanya, I'll let you speak to this. The overhead squat, it's not always so much the weight, it's the technique. Get into that sweet spot, because you can all lift that weight if it's a front or a back squat. It's all technique here.
Yeah, with the overhead squat, it's like the king of all squats. It's where you're going to see any and every flaw and weakness and lack of mobility you have in your shoulders, in your hips. If you have lack of core stability, it's going to be just magnified with the overhead squat. So it's not always the weight, it's about, can you keep that weight balanced over your midline, over the heel of your foot, and keep it centered through that full movement from top to bottom of the squat. And if you can't, you're going to be taxing your shoulders a lot more. And your best athletes have the range of motion, and they won't be as taxed as those that don't.
And again, the top 3 right now, North Haven CrossFit, Move Fast Freedom, Flower City CrossFit are 1, 2, 3. There's lanes 8 and 7. Move Fast Freedom on the right in the blue shorts and the black top. That's Flower City CrossFit, the gentleman in the gray. Neat transition there. Just moved on without breaking into a second movement.
Little jump right up. That saves time. That saves precious seconds. And in the end, that could be something that helps their team out when someone's struggling to cross that line.
Now this is just Heat 1 in the East. Europe has already gone earlier today, and Team Punk Wheat got 14:32 flat over the Europe Regional. So that is the event record that the teams here in the East will be chasing this morning at the Time Union Center. And right now, it's still North Haven CrossFit with the early lead in this. Now we do have a 17-minute time cap, so we're well ahead of that right now. Well,
and Jeff, as you know, in years past, at the regional level, first week and the first regions to go, they are the ones giving this thing a test. Everybody's done it back at home in their affiliate, but here's the first time under pressure with the judge's eye, with the floor laid out like this for us to get a time, and that time is going to fall. All of these times will fall week after week as teams perfect it and now have a time to go for. They're going to attack a little differently.
Second set of females here in lane 7 and 8 on the left. That's Flower City CrossFit. Lane 8 on the right, and the polka dot looking tank top is Move Fast Freedom out of CrossFit Athletic Academy, again in Holbrook, New York. And again, it's North Haven, Flower City, but Move Fast Freedom. They are neck and neck here.
Move Fast, she with the polka dot, she is really moving. I love just her positioning is great. You can watch how her knees track over her toes. Just everything is very efficient. Her shoulders are locked in, very stable. This weight for the ladies, this is the second set of females going through, so this is 115 pounds now on the barbell.
So they are rep for rep here. Flower City on the left, Move Fast Freedom on the right. On the right side, it looks like that's Emma Ferreira, the second athlete for Move Fast Freedom. Looks like she had a little issue with the rope.
Rope issue, the handle, it looked like it even got a knot in it. So using a different rope is not always ideal. People they do like their ropes. There's different, all of them are very different. It looks like she's trying to keep herself as tight as possible. She's very efficient, but maybe the rope's a little short for her too, and she's trying to not let her hands get too wide and trip up on it.
There's nothing more frustrating for your regular CrossFit athlete in the box you do as a coach. Come back, there's that knot. But for people like me, it gives me a little bit of rest. So it's for round on the right and moving forward for Flower City. Looks like Ian Davis for Powell in the green top. And that is Flower City CrossFit with a slight lead. CrossFit, but it looks like Flower City CrossFit here on the left in the gray top, black shorts has taken the lead. And that rope issue just cost Move Fast freedom, as it looks like it's Emma Ferreira again moving up. And again, that's your top two now. Flower City CrossFit has the overall lead, followed by Move Fast Freedom in the blue shorts. Then up top in the red, North Haven CrossFit currently in third. So Flower City CrossFit's been able to steadily make a move here. We're past the halfway point of the 17-minute time cap.
But now we're about to see what they can do when they flip upside down.
Here we go, and his full hand did not start behind that green line. Everything must be behind.
In years past, the athlete's feet just need to be behind the line, but this year, in the open and here in regionals, you have to start with your hands and feet behind the starting line.
All right, we're seeing the handstand obstacle. He's going to go on both. He's not going to kick back up. He's going to go over both of the obstacles. And he's got to get past this red line when he comes down the stairs.
Very impressive. Great stability. He made that look easy. That was incredible. To be able to walk up all of your weight on one hand, if you haven't practiced this, and many of them have in the past couple weeks, but this is a brand new obstacle. He put the work in, but he is absolutely proficient on his hands, and that didn't just come overnight. But another athlete unbroken. I am so impressed by these men.
Well, give credit to Gary Jones and James Whelan from Flower City CrossFit that went the whole way on these obstacles. Now, we've seen on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all the social media, people making these homemade contraptions in their box. We were able to kind of get a feel for these yesterday. They do have the padding, but it's pretty firm. It doesn't have too much give, so you can get solid hand placement.
Still solid hand placement, but a little bit of a wiggle for your proficient athletes, the ones that know how to run on their hands or walk on stairs. That's not a problem. It's going to be for the athletes that don't have that proficiency, that aren't as strong, that are only used to a stable, flat ground. They're the ones that are going to struggle because of that little bit of give.
So Flower City CrossFit right now, they'll have their first female kicking up. They're here in the gray tank top and the black shorts. Now having a little issue just getting into that handstand. And what we've not talked about, we saw it in the open with those 115-pound overhead squats in that event in the open this year. Boy, that's really a lot tougher than it seems when you didn't try to flip upside down and stabilize. There's
a lot that you can do to mess up movements. You can fatigue yourself and tax yourself, and I think that's part of the programming and what Dave Castro looks at and thinks about. How can we really find the best? How can we really, put these people under different stressful situations and different fatigue factors with different elements, and then see how they perform, because a lot of times they surprise him, I think, than what he expects.
Now, what you're allowed to do, you saw Flower City CrossFit go there. Say if you and I were on the team, I can't finish it, I can't get over that obstacle. You have the option to tag out, and I can come back later once I get some stability. Down here, looks like Move Fast Freedom goes down, so that'll be a no rep, as the gentleman in the blue shorts and black shirt will drop down, but he'll get credit for that first section. Back to Flower City CrossFit, again, a 17-minute time cap. The time to beat from Europe was 14:32.
And it's kind of a telltale sign when you watch when the athletes flip upside down. If there's a pause or a hesitation to get them started just handstand walking, that's pretty much a telltale sign they're not the best handstand walker just on flat ground, that they will probably struggle come that incline. Such a different lean, and you really have to push forward with your legs to get yourself to get up that incline. It is a very challenging obstacle in both directions.
Meanwhile, in lane 4, North Haven CrossFit does have both of their males across. Now their females, they've got a chance to regain the lead, but having a little issue there, maintaining that tight midline. Lauren DeCessa right there now. She's going to give off to Beshi here, see how she can do. Right now, CrossFit New England in lane number 10, the only team with both females across. And you can go in any order that you want to right now. Here we go. Here's lane 10. They're going to go with their males second on the handstand walk.
And so maybe for CrossFit New England, knowing they had the ability for all 4 of these athletes to do that, maybe that is why they were sending their females first, because maybe they needed more time. We can hope that's the case, as their first male athlete did get through the first obstacle, had a pause, and was able to hold on to that.
Got to get across the red line. Both palms fully across, and they do. So New England right now has the lead. They were 19th in the Northeast, 185 worldwide. They need one more male. trying to kick up down here in the bottom of your screen in the red top in the gray shorts. And again, we're starting to creep toward the time cap of 17 minutes. Here we go. It just caught the hand and went down on the shoulder. And it doesn't take a genius when you strategize this team event, put the best handstand walkers first. And you got a little tease of this. Dave Castro did in the Invitational. Now they kind of walked in and out of some obstacles, but he always gives those hints at the Invitational that something could be coming.
He did, and that was you never know exactly what to expect, but that was an indication that you need to do more than just move from point A to point B on a level surface.
About 2 minutes remaining in the 17-minute time cap. Again, CrossFit New England with 3 athletes across on the bottom of your screen right now with the lead here in Heat 1, Event 1 from the East Region in Albany, New York. It's amazing how this event developed, Tanya. So fast on overhead squats and then double unders, and it just kind of comes to a halt here when the gymnastics get into play.
Well, it's kind of like a little tease. Let's have everybody feel comfortable, give you 2 movements that everyone can do at this level, and then we're going to throw something new at you. And here's the thing. You have to believe he's been practicing this now since they announced it last week. And the shoulders and the fatigue that goes into learning a new movement or learning a new skill or obstacle in this situation is just how much fatigue is he already coming in with, because he was, I'm sure, practicing this to try to get, how do I get up these stairs? How do I get up the incline? How do I get down the incline?
These teams here in Heat 1 looking for the early 100 points and hoping they can hold on over 2 more heats. So we've got 2 more really good heats coming up, but even if you're in Heat 3, you like to start out the weekend well, get a good feeling, try to climb up that leaderboard, put yourself in position coming into Saturday. Less than a minute to go into the time cap.
And Jeff, even though we have the really good heats coming up, this is an entirely new element, so it doesn't mean we're not going to see some of the top struggle, because we've never seen this kind of walking on your hands in previous regionals.
CrossFit red zone there. Romy Gold said, hey, I'm going for it here. We'll see if I can get over this first hurdle. Again, CrossFit red zone out of Newtown, Connecticut. They were 15th in the Northeast, 132 worldwide, about 20 seconds of the time cap. And again, CrossFit New England has 3 athletes across. Again, all of our results here unofficial. 10 seconds remaining in the time cap. But it's going to be a handstand walk event here. That's a great test. Down to 2, and that is going to be your time cap here in heat number 1 of event number 1. And it's, as we expected, Tanya, it's going to be all about the handstand walks.
It is, and now for the teams that don't finish, they will get the cap plus every obstacle that they didn't get across, and every teammate that did not get across will lose those 2 points per obstacle. So for CrossFit New England, who was able to get 3 athletes, that they were able to get 3 across, so that was just a 2-point cap plus 2 will be their score. That's how this event is scored. We saw it was definitely 2 different style of events. We didn't even see CrossFit New England early on in the overhead squats and the double under portion, and then all of a sudden their athletes blew through the handstand walking for the first 3, giving their last athlete as much time as possible, but just weren't able to get him through.
It looks like New England, the only team with 3 athletes across in Heat 1. 2 more heats coming up, and Heat 2 is on the way from the East Regional.
10 seconds. Stand by. And here we go. Heat number 2, hitting the competition floor as they get going on event number 1 of East Regional Weekend. We saw a few teams get close, Mike, in heat number 1. 3 total athletes through the entirety of the event, but 1 left on the obstacle course. Let you know how this one shakes out again. All athletes heading through it in relay style. 25 overhead squats, 150 dubs. Once they're all complete, they're going to move on to the second half of the floor to go through individually on the obstacle course relay. As we got our first team onto the jump rope, that is Team CrossFit Queens in lane number 3, getting after the double unders first. And on the opposite side of the floor, lane number 10, Team Lucine Taschereau. Your second athletes followed very closely by Reebok CrossFit 1 in lane 5 and CrossFit Dragon 4. As more teams join the double under party, picking up their ropes and getting to it as we pass the 1 minute mark. They're going to see them advance after 75 dubs. Looking to see who that first athlete will be. Trying to set themselves up with some very quick splits. As it looks like Team CrossFit Queens judge's hand is in the air. And he will move on up. That means 75 dubs down.
Lucine in lane 10, just about step for step. So you're 1, 2, and 3 working on that final set of double unders. Looking to get that number 1 athlete over to that chest piece. And this heat is tight, tight, tight as we come up on the 2 minute mark.
And the Northeast-based Reebok CrossFit Games veteran and OG Austin Maliolo, part of the veteran squad from Reebok CrossFit 1. With just a few double unders to go, looking to send his team up for a repeat trip to the Reebok CrossFit Games. And hand is up. It looks like we got our first athlete, Mike.
Lucine Tasharu in lane number 10 will be your number 1 team with their first female athlete on to the overhead squat. Once again, our first gentleman with the 135 row barbell. Our ladies pushing 95 pounds.
And while you were talking, we had a couple other guys cross that line. CrossFit Crag, Nate Cuffery, touching up. Team CrossFit Queens, Reebok CrossFit 1. And it looks like we've got the majority of the guys now making all of the gentlemen through. Athlete 2 now out to the floor.
Dylan, a lot of heavy hitters, man. Team CrossFit Queens now in lane number 3. All of their men have games experience.
A ton of it indeed. There are no names anymore on the team or individual side. All big name, all highly capable competitors. Throw it down.
Sorry, Dylan. Lucine in lane number 10 staying out in front, working on that first set of 75 double unders for their number 2 athlete at the 3:30 mark.
Yankee CrossFit's first female competitor grabbing her jump rope and getting ready to get to work. That'll make 8 of our squads with their second athlete onto the dubs. So still relatively neck and neck as we pass the 4 minute mark here in heat number 2.
And Lucine stepping forward at the same time as Quebec City in lane number 7. So lane number 10, Lucine, lane 7, CrossFit Quebec. You're 1 and 2.
We've got a waiting game on our hands as Yankee CrossFit's female competitor going to move up.
Just a few reps away for having our first female athlete onto the stop mat. Lucine Tasharu in lane number 10 will be your first up, followed by lane number 3, CrossFit Queens.
So there are now 3 athletes, 3 female athletes that is, make it 4 as Reebok CrossFit 1 gets their athlete across the line. Now Spencer Hendel squat snatching his first rep in the red short center of the floor. Ian Berger, lane number 3 for Team CrossFit Queens, also getting into a groove at 155. So if you're looking for the leader, you're going to find him on the barbell. As male athlete number 2 seeks to finish up their overhead squats. It looks like we've got the first one done and onto the dubs, Mike.
That's right, Dylan. CrossFit Quebec City, your new leaders out in lane number 7. Followed by lane number 3, Team CrossFit Queens. And now Reebok CrossFit 1 in lane number 5.
You said it, Mike. So much games experience out on one competition floor across the board, either on the team side, the individual side as well. Every year the level of competition increasing. As we've got 5 guys onto their dubs. As Ian Berger for CrossFit Queens moves up, so does Spencer Endo for Reebok CrossFit One.
Seven minutes down, Dylan. 7 minutes down, 10 minutes to go.
Still waiting to see which team will welcome out their 4th and final athlete. And a hand up in the air, it's gonna be Reebok CrossFit One and CrossFit Quebec City, as well as Team CrossFit Queens at virtually the same time. Maybe a second or 2 difference between those 3 squads. So there you see their final female athletes on the barbell. That's 115 pounds, getting after it here on their 25 overhead squats.
And just a reminder, that second barbell for your second 2 teammates, 155 pounds for our gentlemen, 115 for our ladies.
So the other 3 athletes, while they're waiting, they're also making sure they're on their same page with their handstand walk strategy. Again, we had no teams in the first heat able to tackle the obstacle course, the handstand obstacle course in its entirety. 2 teams getting 1 athlete away. We're looking to see if that's going to change here in heat number 2.
So your leading ladies out there on to the double unders, just about neck and neck. Reebok CrossFit One in lane number 5, CrossFit Queens in lane number 3, and CrossFit Quebec City in lane number 7.
And it's still all in the same box, if you will. Again, they're going to move on up once they complete 75. A hand is up for Team CrossFit Queens, as well as for Reebok CrossFit One. And they're both going to advance at the same time. They've now emerged as your 1 and 2 CrossFit Queens and Reebok CrossFit One.
And now Quebec City in lane 7 moving forward. Putting the pressure on as we come up on the 9.5 minute marker. You said it, no teams finishing. 2 teams so far with 3 athletes across the line.
And I'm sure we're going to see one of these teams get close, if not get it done, here in heat number 2. These squads looking to set themselves up for success on the weekend. 6 opportunities to climb that leaderboard, earn themselves a spot to Madison, as we've got both teams onto the handstand walk obstacle course. It's going to be CrossFit Queens and Reebok CrossFit One, as CrossFit Queens gets over and down the ramp, crossing that first yellow line. He's going to be able to take a quick break before kicking back up.
Your 1, 2, and 3 already out there and walking on the obstacle course. Austin Maliolo, your first athlete across the line for Reebok CrossFit One in lane number 5. And now just a few steps away, that'll do it. Lane 3 for CrossFit Quebec, or CrossFit Queens rather. And Quebec City will have to go back for your number 3 position.
And Reebok CrossFit One looking to get their second athlete. They went girl the second time around as she almost gets down the final step. Let's see if that opens up an opportunity for another team. So it's CrossFit Queens and Reebok CrossFit One, your 1 and 2 to this point.
6 minutes remaining. And now Quebec City in lane number 7 will have one across the line, but 2 across the line officially for CrossFit One in lane number 5.
And another team slipping to the forefront. Yankee CrossFit, lane number 2 with their first competitor across the line. So again, we've seen in heat number 1, the first couple of athletes, while it was difficult, they were able to get through it. It was usually one weak link that held them back, but not the case for Reebok CrossFit One. 3 competitors across the line. Athlete number 4 taking their crack, their first attempt at the handstand walk obstacle course.
The big man, the Clydesdale, Spencer Hendel, making easy work of the gymnastic moves.
So back on the left side, Yankee CrossFit, lane number 2 with 2 athletes across. Athlete number 3 already through the first portion of the obstacle. As Ian Berger tries to stay upside down, he'll do it. Athlete 2 for Team CrossFit Queens, done.
2 down and 2 to go for Quebec City in lane number 7.
So check it out, Mike. Yankee CrossFit now moves into second place in the heat. Athlete number 4 for that squad.
And now Quebec City with 3 across. It goes 1, Reebok CrossFit 1, 2, Yankee CrossFit, and 3, Quebec City.
And Mike, that event record set out in Europe, 14:32. That was by CrossFit Pund. I think that could be in jeopardy here, as some of these teams with their 4th and final competitor upside down as we near the 13-minute mark. CrossFit Roseland with their first competitor across the line.
And now 1 across the line, down in lane number 6, ADM.
This was the same scenario back in heat number 1. That 4th and final competitor having quite a difficult time. Looking to see if that's going to change here, though. Again, 3 teams in contention with their final athlete out on the competition floor. As it looks like CrossFit Crag with their first athlete across the line.
And a big sigh from the crowd as Reebok CrossFit One, their final athlete, makes it down the ramp, but can't hold on to that yellow line. 3 minutes remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Dylan, I got hope. I know there's a lot of strategy. Maybe once that first person gets across the line, maybe everybody else is super fast. You never know how it's going to work. You got to just keep going until the buzzer.
Absolutely right, Mike. As we come upon the 14:30 mark, it doesn't look like we have any team with their 4th athlete through at least the first obstacle, not yet. But a couple teams trying. Reebok CrossFit One getting their female athlete up to the top of the steps, but then she's going to kick on down.
And now Quebec City, 3 across the line, their 4th and final athlete over that first obstacle and across the yellow line, and taking a quick breather.
So they are looking in the best position at this point to finish up beneath that 17-minute cap. Going to take a quick break and shake out those shoulders. Wants to make this next attempt count, Mike.
So now your leaders in lane number 7, CrossFit Quebec City. The final obstacle in front of their final athlete at the 15:30 marker. Just about 90 seconds remaining, athletes. 90 seconds.
So here she goes again, lane number 7, folks. Almost up to the top of the ramp. Can she get down the steps, make some? No, so close. She's still got time for one more attempt, 1 minute.
60 seconds remaining, athletes. 60 seconds to go. Albany, make some noise for your athletes. I know we can do it right here. 2 teams threatening with plenty of time. CrossFit Quebec City up on top of that platform. A few steps to go. 1 to go. She's got to get across the line. Albany, make some noise. Quebec City in lane 7. Unofficially 16:34.
And that leaves but 20 seconds remaining, folks. As Reebok CrossFit 1 gets their 4th and final athlete through the first obstacle, we're down to 10 seconds.
I'll count them down, Dylan. Keep your eye on the teams. 5 seconds remaining. 3, 2, 1. And time.
Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for all of your teams. But an extra special shout out to your lone finishers, CrossFit Quebec City.
Now we got work to do. Let's go.
Welcome inside the Time Union Center in Albany, New York. It is event number 1 of team competition on day 1 of the CrossFit East Regional. I'm Jeff Private alongside Tanya Wagner. We've seen 2 heats go so far, and we're setting up for heat number 3. These are your top 10 teams as we see how they line up. And boy, there's some heavy hitters here in this heat, Tanya.
We have CrossFit Milford, who went to the games last year, took 7th place at the CrossFit Reebok Games in 2017. So we're going to keep our eye on them. We have Invictus Boston, who is packed with Reebok or Games athletes and Ocean State's finest. This list here, Jeff, is going to be a team to watch for the race at the end when it comes to the handstand walking, because all of these teams have the regional experience. They know how to walk on their hands. It's just going to be how they attack the obstacles.
Now, team's getting set up with their jump ropes here, and we'll talk later on with Nick Zalewski on the competition floor, but trying to stage everything because the double unders in this event, the overhead squats, they're almost just for fun. It really does not matter where you finish in the first segment of this test, this event. It's all going to come down to those handstand walks that we have seen in the first 2 heats. And here is how it's going to lay out, Tanya.
It's going to be a relay race between the men and the women, and there's 2 barbells, 2 barbell weights for the men and 2 barbell weights for the women. It's going to get heavier for the second person to go through, but they will have 25 overhead squats with the barbell and then 150 double unders. After each athlete does that race through those 2 movements, then as a team they're going to have to also race through the handstand walk obstacle. And I'm calling it a race because these teams are the ones that, if anybody can do it, these are the ones that can race this event. If they push the overhead squats and push the double unders like they can, they may tax their shoulders a little bit. And so for even the teams that can do the obstacles, if they push so hard that they have some fatigue, we may see some wobbling. I won't be surprised if we see that.
About ready to start.
Stand by.
Heat 3 is underway. We'll start it off with the 25 overhead squats. At this weight, 135. Really, the weight is not the issue for the regional type athletes.
For these guys, getting their hands on that bar is comfort. They're used to lifting heavy weights. We don't have a max lift in this region, in this regional this year. People do like to lift heavy, but this is not heavy for them, especially for the guys. This weighing 135 for this first barbell. Really, it's just going to be about settling yourself in. It's the first event of competition, so they just want to get themselves through this, and these guys are going to have the most stress because they have to wait for the next 3 teammates to go through. So if anybody can push the speed, it's going to be this first guy.
That's Milford on the left. You saw as we switched to team fraternity. They've been to the games, but they've got regional vets on this one. With the new team format, 4 members instead of 6, you're going to see a lot of different rosters this year, but a lot of familiar team names.
Familiar names, and the best of the best. It's hard to get 6 really qualified and really top caliber athletes from an affiliate. So you saw a lot of different boxes joining together to make that 6-man team. But now you have the best of the best, but you're still going to now find weaknesses among those top athletes.
This is lane 8 right there in the black top, black shorts. RX Lab, the Flying B out of CrossFit Villeray in Montreal, Quebec, third in Canada East. They were 26th worldwide, so they'd like to make a push and try to get themselves to Madison, Wisconsin this year. Right now in first place, you saw the gentleman advance there. It's 150 double unders. You do 75 in the first section. You advance across the dotted line for your second 75.
Well, it may not feel like there's a lot of pressure going on. The athletes do know, though, that every second matters at the end. They want to give themselves enough time for the handstand walks. We've only had one team finish, like you said, so it's super important that the points are here to get started. If your teams can finish, they have to, since there's only been one team out of 20 so far to complete this.
We've seen the teams here through a couple of heats. We've seen the 3 heats over in Europe. The South will start later today, but there's 2 more weeks. And the teams out in the South, the teams in the next 2 weeks, are watching these events today saying, look, we don't have to sprint through the first part of this because the danger is you can roll your shoulders up before you start that handstand walk.
And this being the first week, they've only had a week to practice these movements and practice as best they can on the apparatus. A lot of affiliates, they made mock ramps and steps, and it's not quite the exact same. There's a little give to these mats. The obstacles have a little give to them, so it is really, can they adapt here with the movement or with the apparatus that they have?
Right now, it's going to be RX Lab, the Flying B in first place. They are in lane 8. They have the female in the white tank top and the red shorts down here on the right side of your screen. If you look on to the upper part of your screen, that first blue lane in the all light blue, that's going to be Coliseum Street, currently in second place for their female on the overhead squat. So again, CrossFit Villeray and Coliseum Street, they're out of MW CrossFit in Central Valley, New York. So again, this is event number 1, and CrossFit Quebec City is the only team to get all 4 athletes across. They did it in Heat 2, 16:30.96, and it was Sophie LeBlanc-Trottier that willed her way over that obstacle and just got in under the time cap earlier.
And that was gutsy because of the fatigue. She had tried, and it was right at the cap, and that's impressive under that pressure and fatigue.
Here we are in the red shorts, white top. That's RX Lab, the Flying B, again, currently in first place here in heat number 3. And again, they will be chasing CrossFit Quebec City. In the forefront in this navy top, that's Physics CrossFit out of Boston, Massachusetts. They were 5th in the Northeast, 44th worldwide. And again, the females, just like the males, will do the first 75. Most athletes will stop, walk forward, advance. But we did see kind of an nifty transition earlier, the 75th opting across the dotted line into the 76. But right there, she saw in lane 8, that's a little bit more of your standard transition.
Just take a step, take a breath, but you know, that's the thing with transitions, with equipment malfunction, those are the kinds of things that really set some teams back. And being that this is the first event, sometimes you have to get some of the nerves out and kind of figure out the flow of it. They've been to all the meetings and they know exactly what the flow looks like, but it's different once you get out there and the nerves, and there were ropes in other lanes. These are tight lanes, so you really got to keep your equipment in the same lane and really be efficient with the way you transition. It doesn't have to be cute, it just has to be efficient.
And what do you tell your athletes when you coach, trying to keep those hands in slightly out front? They start flaring out here, there's danger, you get hit ropes, there's no telling. Boy, nothing is worse than something that you didn't do to mess up your double unders.
No fun when you get tripped up. It can get inside your head.
Top of the screen, CrossFit Milford now has 2 athletes across. Here comes RX Lab, the Flying B. They are in. So those are your top 2. We drop down here to Physics CrossFit. Again, they're in lane number 10. Male athlete in the navy top and the gray shorts. Again, out of Boston, Massachusetts. They've had a game appearance in the past.
And right now, he's very dialed in. Watch his shoulders. Not a lot of wiggle there. He's keeping this bar stabilized at 155 pounds, locked in overhead. His torso is nice and straight. He's able to just really use the legs to drive himself up. But there's a lot of work going on. Shoulder stabilized. The bar is staying over his heels.
I believe that was Marc-Andre Ferris. Again, one neat thing they have now at the regionals this season, it's the first time you'll see on the athletes from time to time when you see a close-up, they'll have the temporary tattoos instead of the old dry erase marker. Help us identify these individual athletes as they move along. It's always a big thrill at the local boxes to have your athletes out here. Here is lane 4, Coliseum Strength again, in that light top and the white tights. Again, they're out of CrossFit Central Valley in Central Valley, New York, second in the Northeast, so they want to make some noise. They're one of the top seeds coming in this weekend.
And once you get there, now they're on the big stage. Now they have to prove what they showed us in the Open, what their team got there. Depending on whose scores they took in the different Open events doesn't necessarily mean they took everybody's score from this team. So they're here to show what they brought. They have quite the competition on the floor with them. And
they can make some noise because what has the old adage been in the team competition? How strong are your females? That's the strength of this team.
It's true, and that's really with these ladies and with the loading of the barbells in the regional. Those ladies are going to have no problem with it. So we're going to see how their gymnastics abilities are, how they can do their handstand walking here in just a moment.
Well, that's a happy guy in lane 5 in the all-black team fraternity superhero CrossFit. You don't see a lot of people have a little smile on his face there.
Well,
these double unders.
He is so relaxed and he's so efficient on these double unders. It looks like he's just relaxing with singles because his jump off the ground was so minimal, really was efficient with that jumping.
And fraternity now is taking the lead. They have 3 athletes allowed their final female getting onto the overhead squats. And in lane 4, Coliseum Strength as their final female. And here come a lot more of the final female athletes. It looked like lane 7, East Woodbridge now has their final female. So it looks like that's going to be your top 3 fraternity, Coliseum, East Woodbridge right now. But again, this is all just kind of a teaser. Yeah, it's fun and it can play a role in some tiebreak situations to get through this portion quickly, but it's all this event's coming up here as soon as we pan to the left and some athletes get onto those handstand obstacles.
It all comes down to that, but right now you can see a difference between the athletes if you watch their speed. The ladies that pause and have that pause in the bottom or the top and they kind of have to refocus, they're the ones that are really dialed in. There's more taxing going on in their shoulders than some of the athletes that can just down, up, without the pause, without the hitch. 115 pounds is what this barbell weighs, and at 25 reps, they're all going, most of them are going unbroken. It's just that number that's taxing enough, especially at 115 pounds.
So fraternity again maintains the lead. That's a look at your roster. Tiffany Simplinsky, Stephanie Rodriguez, Shane Rochot, and Nicholas Flannery. Top 4 members all were in the top 66 individually in the Open and all regional events. They were 12th at the 2015 Games. Of course, that's a different roster, but you do have some history coming out of Superhero CrossFit.
And that's the thing with the 4-man team, and when I looked at the East region, all of the athletes, individual athletes that declined the individual invitation. In some regions, everybody wanted that individual invitation, but here, 3 of the 4 members on Team Fraternity declined their invitation for the individual to come into the team. That's impressive. That shows we're really seeing the best of the best, and I love that in a team competition where that's come over the years to really not just pull a team together with 1 or 2 studs. You have a team of all 4 very capable athletes that could compete individually.
1 team finished today, but still the event record comes out of Europe. Team Punt Wheat there, you saw it 14:32, the overall event record. And here in the East, it was 16:28 for CrossFit Quebec City. So every team looks like they have their final female out here on the last set of double unders. And in the middle, you would expect Coliseum Strength, Fraternity, Pro 1 Montreal, East Woodbridge, RX Lab, the Flying V, your top seeds. Like swimming lanes, the top seeds start in the middle, and we spread out to lanes 1 and 10. So your top seeds are in the blue lanes. And here is Team Fraternity in lane number 5. They're a male athlete. You have to get across that yellow line. If you need to come down, you can, but looks like he's going to try to go unbroken. Just like lane 6, Pro 1 Montreal. Got to get across the red line, both palms, and there you go. Fraternity has their first male in. Looks like that was Nicholas Flannery who got in.
And that's where it comes down to. You have to know your abilities, and it's not worth it to go for the full double obstacle if you know if you think you're gonna have trouble. Come down, shake it out before you approach the next one. So all of those gentlemen right now did a great job with that. Going back is costly. It takes so much time. We're seeing a much different group of athletes here in this heat.
Eternity quickly with 2 athletes already across and touching that chest piece. Boy, and they are blowing through this. Here comes their female in the white and black pants and the black top right here in the forefront of your screen. She's going to try to go unbroken.
Look at her control. And it's all about her legs. She's able to maintain and change the balance and change that the pulling point and that angle with her feet. She did that so well. Very impressive for Fraternity.
Well, if their final female can get across in the next 3 minutes, they're going to smash the event record. She ends up coming down on the first obstacle.
Yeah, but she came down and she had already passed the stairs, which is a great sign because a lot of the other teams, they couldn't even get up the first step. So, all right, now she just needs to take time. She has time on her side. She has to shake her arms out. She is capable. Making it up the stairs is really impressive. So she just needs to calm down, take her breath, and not rush into it.
And there's where our teammates have to let her know, Tiny, you've got 5 minutes left in the cap. You've got 4.5 minutes for the time to beat here in this region. She's not thinking about all those numbers, but her teammates need to let her know, slow down, we've got this, recover here. It's just like a handstand push-up. If you don't get that recovery and they go, they're gone.
Well, and she also was the last athlete now to go here. They raced through. It's not like she had all that time to recover as well, but there's a lot of pressure when you see your 3 teammates at the finish line and you know you're the only one left to go. This is where the mental side of CrossFit and competing comes into play. But
Laura Hoge is going to tag out there in lane number 7 on the right side of your screen. She'll give way to Sandra Hamilton. This is CrossFit East Woodbridge here in lane 7, the Navy pants. And you can tag out all you want to. If you've lost it and you need a minute, tag out, let your teammate have a try at it.
If there's still a teammate left, that's the absolute smartest thing to do. When you're the only one there and it's just you versus the clock, it's a little harder to give yourself the appropriate rest.
So this is Team Fraternity again out of Superhero CrossFit in Coast, New York. Number 1 in the Northeast. They were 10th worldwide. They've got 3 athletes across. This is Manon Lashua in a Pro 1 Montreal in the Army green pants, and they are going to finish it, and they are going to have a new event record and the overall time and event win here in the East. Final athlete, lane 1, CrossFit Milford. Both bombs have to touch. They will be in. They will be number 2 overall in the East, and they would have beaten the event record as well. So Pro 1 Montreal, CrossFit Milford, some familiar names here in the East, back on top.
Again, like we said, they didn't need to be first out of the double unders and the overhead squats, but they shined where they had to, and that's exciting. The team's just so thrilled to get across that line. When you know there's an event with a sticking point, when there's a new movement, the mental fatigue and stress that plays on you is so much greater. So getting that under your belt, that first event, only having a couple teams finish, really sets them up nicely, and it's a lot of momentum going into the rest of this competition.
Pro 1 with 100 points. It's nice to be on top after an event, so now everyone's got to chase you at least for the first day on Friday.
Coming in from Canada East in the first position, and they want to stay there as long as they can.
There is Invictus Boston. Last year it was CrossFit Back Bay. As you see their athletes on there, they wrapped it up with Kelsey Kill and Brianna Hamilton, also Tola Maraquino and Nathan McCabe. Their 4-person team this year. They were 11th at the games last year. They had a chance to make that final heat, but finished outside the top 10. And here comes Fraternity. They'll get their 4th across. So Fraternity is going to complete this event as well.
A lot of emotions there, but you know what? Only having those other 3 or 4 teams finish it's not terrible. If it comes down to the last day and there's a point or 2, that could be the difference. But for right now, finishing is huge on the leaderboard for those points.
Right now, I've got 5, unofficially 5 teams that have finished this event. And again, it's Pro 1 Montreal with a new event record and the event win here in the East. About a minute and a half, a little less than a minute and a half till the 17-minute time cap.
What I love is, you know, usually at the games is where we see movements that can, a new movement, something that can stop somebody, or it's the unknown and unknowable. So I love that Dave Castro, the director of the games, brought an element here to the regional level to say, I want to test you guys too, to see if it's a movement in something that you're not comfortable with, not familiar with, and really get you guys more outside of your comfort zone, because that's hard to do when you're doing regions that go on at different times, to not have that be, to have something be so unfamiliar and still test people the same way as you can at the games.
Over 40 seconds remaining in the time cap. Again, all the times we're going to give you right now unofficial. For official information, always remember games.crossfit.com. Go to the leaderboard to keep up not only with the East, but the other regions as well. That's where you'll find your official times. And Pro One Montreal was around a minute ahead of that event record we saw earlier today out of Europe at 14:32. They were around 13:30 unofficially today. 20 seconds remaining in the time cap. Lane number 3, that's Ocean State's finest. They've got games experience. It'll be fun to watch them later on. They're really good at the worm. That's coming up in event 2. Down the last 5 seconds, they won't finish it out.
That is something they have to look forward to, a known something, something they can get their hands on that they feel comfortable with. What a first event for our teams. Some fun in the beginning. They got to move. They got to show that they can perform some movements, but they also got stopped up. So here's some highlights from this final Heat 3. It was a race with the men right from the beginning. We had Flying V, Coliseum that were out to early leads, but it really wasn't about the first set of men or women. We saw a lot of strength from Pro One Montreal. And it was really the consistency that they went through this didn't really tell us a whole lot about the final outcome of the event. It was really once the athletes got to the handstand walking, once they got to the obstacles, that we really saw everything start to shake out. But it was Fraternity in the black and white who took the lead in the first portion of the event. They had their first, second, and third athlete cross over the finish line first, but their last female athlete struggled for quite some time, which allowed Pro One Montreal to get across the line, showing their strength in that movement, that they really took the appropriate time they needed to get across, and then other teams finished across that line. So great first event.
Fraternity, as you mentioned, looked like they're going to run away with it, but it's Pro One Montreal that kind of played their game and ended up getting an event record. They are with Nick Zielinski.
Pro One Montreal having a little fun after an event victory there. We always wait on Dave Castro to announce something new, something fresh for regionals. This year it's the handstand walk apparatus. How did you guys prepare for that?
When Dave Castro first announced that we were going to walk on your hand with a ramp like that, 2 days after, a coach, Rock Proto from Pro One Montreal, built one for us. So we had like a good 2 weeks to practice on that, like 3 or 4 times a week.
So you built it. Did you do the plywood? Did you do the vinyl like this?
No, yeah, we had like an actual plywood planche, a ramp, and it works super well. Like we have a construction guy working at the gym, and he just built one for us in like 2 days. So it was awesome, and it was like the same kind of feeling that today. So we're pretty happy about that.
Very happy. Event win there. A lot of good teams here this weekend. What does an event 1 mean for you guys going forward?
It's for sure give us some confidence going into the next week, and we're just looking forward to have a bunch of fun and do our best.
All right, guys, congratulations. Event 1 victory. Jeff, back to you.
Thank you, Nick. Pro One Montreal, again, an event record here. For all your official information, you can go to games.crossfit.com to follow not only the East Regional here in Albany, but the Europe. Also, later on, the South will be out in Salt Lake City again. 5 teams here in event 1 finished in team competition. Meanwhile, we'll send it out to the HQ studios to update all the action. We'll be back a little bit later from the East Regional in Albany, New York.
Ten seconds. Stand by.
And another heat underway. The start of event number 2 here at the East Regional. A lot of action going on. So let's break it down for you. In pairs, as you see, 2 athletes running on the assault runner, accumulating 200 meters each. On the rig, it's synchronized chest to bar, a total number of 25. Once the pairs finish up, they're gonna switch spots, do the same, and then it's on to the worm for 10 clean and press. You're gonna do that 4 rounds as fast as you can. Right now, round number 1 underway for the teams of heat number 1.
Dylan, we're awful used to seeing that worm or some type of implement like that now. This worm this year out of Rogue, 358 pounds. Made up a couple 170-pound sandbags, some 6-pound filler bags inside. A very stout 358.
And obviously a little bit lighter. We shortened the worm for our new team format here at the East Regional. As we've got a couple teams switching places, Move Fast Freedom and CrossFit Norwalk getting closer to tackling the worm. Again, just 4 athletes per squad, down from 6, as was announced earlier on this year.
And a nice smooth switch out in lane number 10, the folks out of CrossFit New England.
So I'll tell you the other interesting thing here, Mike, is that they could have set up their pairs however they so pleased. You'll see some teams going with girl-girl, guy-guy pairs, some going girl-guy, girl-guy. Add to the strategy at play here for event number 2 of your team competition.
Dylan, there's a lot going on as our teams move back and forth as they switch, but you'll be able to watch your favorite teams and athletes as they march that worm down the competition floor. So keep an eye out. We'll try to let you know when we know who's in the lead.
And I think that question has been answered. CrossFit Red Zone, lane number 3. How about down your end, Mike?
And now Move Fast Freedom, your number 2 team to touch up on that worm.
Next will be North Haven CrossFit, Mike. So they're going to round out your 1, 2, and 3. Now CrossFit 207 also joining the mix.
Our teams are looking for 10 clean and press with that 358-pound worm. Down and touch the ground over the shoulder, press it up, and then they'll be able to move that worm down the floor just like that.
So new to the standard this year, on that press over, hips and knees must be extended by all 4 teammates. As Red Zone through 5 reps and move it up. They've just got a few more to go, so they're gonna be your leaders.
And now in lane number 8, Move Fast Freedom, 5 reps down, 5 to go.
Next it'll be North Haven and CrossFit Southie. Again, this is just round number 1 of 4. You can see the floor marked accordingly. They got a long way to travel down the competition floor as we near the 4-minute mark, Mike. And we got your leaders, CrossFit Red Zone, heading back to the ring and runner. Let's see what kind of lead they build. They were done at the 4-minute mark exactly. CrossFit Southie going to be about 10 seconds behind as they move into 2nd place.
Our athletes had an opportunity, if they haven't already, to work with this worm yesterday. And now rounding out your top 3 teams into round number 2, down in lane number 8, Move Fast Freedom, followed same time by North Haven CrossFit and CrossFit Norwalk.
So as you just mentioned a little bit earlier, Mike, you can track to see which squads are in the lead. Just look for where their worms are positioned on the floor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 teams with their worms in that 2nd quadrant. As they head back to the ring, same game, just a different round. 25 synchronized chest to bar and 200 meters on the assault runner each. And then they're going to switch places, both pairs, completing both portions of the event. And switch till both pairs are done.
CrossFit New England heading back for round number 2, a 4-rounder, 17-minute time capped event.
As we pass the 6-minute mark, teams continuing to push along their second event of 6 this weekend as they look to stake their claim for a spot to the Reebok CrossFit Games in Madison, Wisconsin in August. Only 5 teams will advance as we see a few hands up in the air. One of them being down here in lane number 1, CrossFit Southie.
Hands up for CrossFit New England.
So remember early on, CrossFit Red Zone had the advantage and they will still be holding on to that lead. Keep an eye on their split mic. Made their way to the worm at the 6:57 mark. Let's see how much time is between them and second as we look for the next team to head on out to the worm. That's 1 rep already in the bag for your leaders, CrossFit Red Zone.
A couple teams very close to finishing up round number 2 on their assault runner and chest to bar synchronized pull-ups. Red Zone in lane number 3 out in front.
And wow.
Trying to spread the distance.
And wow, I mean, already moving on up. It looks like they may have nearly a minute advantage over the other teams. It's really becoming CrossFit Red Zone against the clock here at heat number 1. Literally more than a minute ahead of the other teams. There's CrossFit 207, and who's that squad on your side, Mike?
Lane number 8, the crew out of Move Fast Freedom. And they will be having their hands on that worm first. So it goes 1, CrossFit Red Zone, 2, Move Fast Freedom, and 3, CrossFit 207.
And again, CrossFit Red Zone, a veteran regional squad. They've been on this kind of a big stage before as they look to move into that later heat as we move into Saturday and Sunday, as they will advance their worm. CrossFit Red Zone, 2 rounds in the books as they head back to begin round number 3.
That's right, Dylan. CrossFit Red Zone, the exception with that substantial lead as they head into round number 3. But our positions 2 through 5 very close, all within 2 or 3 reps of each other. But moving forward is 207 and Southie at the same time. Move Fast Freedom in lane number 8, looking to be your next team heading back for round number 3.
So Red Zone continuing their march on the runner. Grip fatigue certainly setting in as the athletes under the rig breathing heavy. They know they've got that edge. They've got to think about those teams in heats 2 and 3. Higher seeded teams through the CrossFit Games Open as they look to set an untouchable time to beat here in heat number 1, nearing that 10-minute mark.
And now it's going to be CrossFit Southie heading back to the rig for their 3rd round, followed about 10 seconds behind by Move Fast Freedom in lane number 8 to round out your top 3 teams. But it'll be CrossFit Red Zone in lane number 3, all out in front with about a 2-minute advantage.
And small chunks on those synchronized chest to bar appear to be the name of the game as we get into these latter rounds. Sets of 3 to 5. Let's see what Red Zone does here. Your leaders, lane number 3, with the yellow V across their chest. That was actually a bigger set. That was about 9 reps, synchronized chest to bar. Again, this is the second pair. They've already swapped here in round 3 for CrossFit Red Zone. As the athletes attack the runner behind them. The chest to bars well underway.
North Haven in lane number 4, starting their 3rd round, and CrossFit New England heading back for round number 3. In lane number 10, 11 and a half minutes in. A 17-minute time cap. Your leaders, Dylan, lane number 3, CrossFit Red Zone.
And I'm starting to wonder with the way the clock is ticking. 17-minute time cap. Will we see a squat finish beneath? CrossFit Red Zone seeking to be that squad to not only finish under the cap, but finish up first. As they had over a minute lead heading to the worm in round number 2. So let's see, 12:03 is when they make their move. They had just a minute between them and the 2nd and 3rd place teams.
In round number 2, Dylan, Red Zone pretty efficient on those 10 reps. We'll see if they can hang on. The pace has got to get bumped up slightly here for round number 4 if they're going to make that 17-minute time cap. The pressure is coming.
So you're seeing some moving and shaking on which segment they complete. Tried it and then switched up after the first couple of reps. Still have not advanced forward yet, Mike.
About 4 minutes remaining. 5 reps to go now for CrossFit Red Zone. On round number 3, fatigue starting to settle in. A little bit of hand hurt, a little bit of leg hurt, a whole lot of lung burning going on as we're deep into round number 3 of this 4-rounder.
And Mike, going back to the lead increasing for CrossFit Red Zone. They're now more than 90 seconds onto the worm ahead of any other team. More than 90 seconds and still no team in sight. They are all on their lonesome. But just a few more reps to go in round number 3.
A nice shot of your leaders up there on the jumbo screen. Folks out of CrossFit Red Zone. And now here comes Move Fast Freedom in lane number 8.
So a 2-minute difference between Red Zone and Move Fast. Time is dwindling, folks. As they advance that worm forward, they've got 2 minutes and 40 seconds still to go as they jog back to begin their final round of synchronized chest to bar and assault runner.
2.5 minutes remaining.
CrossFit 207 moving into that 3rd slot as they look to potentially catch Move Fast Freedom for 2nd here in heat number 1. Again, this is their 2nd and final event of the day as CrossFit New England now makes the trek out to the worm.
I love that with our teams. No rest during that transition. We are just the morning of day number 1 here at our East Regional. Plenty of events remaining, plenty of points to gather up. There is no time to walk. As we start event number 2.
Check it out, touch and go for CrossFit Southie in lane number 1. They look to climb just a bit. Check it out, hanging on to it. Thus far, it is paying off, and they're through their first 5 in no time at all. Definitely recovering some ground as they take a quick break.
5 to go for New England in lane 10. 5 to go for Flower City. Move fast. Freedom now. Heading back for round number 4 with 1 minute remaining.
But eyes back on lane number 3, your leaders. They're going to set the score to beat. Red Zone just made the switch on the runner onto the chest bar. Every rep counts, ladies and gentlemen, as they get a big set of synchronized chest bar. 30 seconds. For every 10 meters on the runner, they will get a rep. Albeit it looks like the time cap's going to be too much for them. We're down to 15 seconds.
Ten seconds.
Less than 5 to go for Red Zone on the chest bar.
3, 2, 1. It's time.
Ladies and gentlemen, let them hear you. A big round of applause for the teams of heat number 1, CrossFit Red Zone, making it heard and will set the score to beat. Finishing all of the chest bar in round number 4 for both pairs. That'll do it for heat number 1. Your Heat 2 teams coming out to the competition floor next.
Inside the Time Union Center in Albany, New York, you're getting set up for heat number 2, event number 2 here at the CrossFit East Regional. I'm Jeff Brightwell alongside Tanya Wagner. We'll talk later with Nick Zielinski on the competition floor, and we have finished one event earlier today, and it was a challenge for the teams once they got to the handstand obstacle. And right now, here's how it stands after one event. And Tanya, what a performance by Pro One Montreal.
They were able to hold on to it there at the end and finish with their last athlete finishing across. Even though they weren't the first couple athletes to get across the apparatus, they were the first team to actually finish. They sealed up their 100 points. And looking down the list, the other teams that finished, CrossFit Milford, Invictus Boston, these are the teams we're used to seeing on day 3 at the top of the leaderboard. Already seeing here is no surprise.
Well, in event 1, if you didn't have a particular skill, you could stumble. But Tanya, in event 2, it's coming down to, can you get this work done? How fast can you do it?
And this one is going to be a lot of strategy here because it's 4 rounds for time of pairs, and you can change the pairing every round if you want to. So there's going to be a lot of adapting here, depending on how your athletes are feeling. But it's a 200-meter run in pairs with 25 synchronized chest to bar pull-ups. Once both pairs have completed their movements, then they switch and complete the other movement. And then they move on to 10 worm, clean, and push press. Clean and jerk is legs get to bend when you go overhead. Here, the push press, you lock out straight. So we do 10 of those. 4 rounds of that, and there's a 17-minute time cap.
Here's how they line up, and the big battle right now in lanes 5 and 7. Reebok CrossFit 1, they are 5 points behind lane 7, CrossFit Quebec City, for that final qualifying spot.
U.S. versus Canada right there.
We'll see a lot of that this weekend. We are underway, so 2 pairs will go to the pull-up bar, the other 2 pairs right here on your assault runner, as you see. And we want to make a note for those who are joining us now. We've had some transmission issues, a little technical issue. Our staff is working hard on that, but we thank everyone for sticking with us here as we are now underway in Heat 2 of event number 2. And The skill part of this, Tanya, are these synchronized chest to bar pull-ups, the standard straight arms at the back. The chest hasn't touched at the same time.
If you have a weaker athlete on your team, you're going to find them here with the chest to bar pull-ups. It's a movement that goes away quickly when you don't have the efficiency with them. So your pairing is crucial to make sure that you're not holding back somebody who can move quicker with another athlete. So really your best athletes, your best teams will have already been practicing these in different pairings, because you never know if you're going to have to go male, male, female, female, or mix. So it's good to practice with everyone and know what each other's capabilities are.
CrossFit Red Zone has the early event lead in Heat 1, but they did not finish. Much like Event 1 earlier today, no one in Heat 1 finished. We had several time caps, and we have a 17-minute time cap in this one, as you see in the upper left-hand portion of your screen. Right now, that's Reebok CrossFit 1. That's Austin Malialo on the left, Spencer Hendel on the right. They are well known, if you're a longtime CrossFit fan, as individual competitors, and they are good friends. We talked to James Hobart, who's here, works with them, is going to go individual. He had an injury, and those guys work together so much. Any synchronized movement's going to be no issue.
Well, out on the floor, these guys have the most individual games competition experience, and between the two of them, with 11 years, and that's incredible. But bringing them together on the team for the first time last year was so much fun to see them, and it's a different piece when you get to work together. They're used to the individual competition. You're really in control of the whole thing, but seeing the way they've worked together, they lead the team. It's great to see that, so I expect to see them dominate out here. And I'm anxious to see if they make any adjustments with their pairings. They work so well together, I don't know if it's smart ever to break them up.
Okay, now you see the individuals, as you see Austin and Spencer waiting for their female athletes. You have to wait on that pad till all four are right there on that Dolliver mat until you can come out and grab the worm. And now here we go. It's going to be the clean and push press. One thing the judges, Tanya, and you've talked about it, we watch Heat 1, are going to have to watch for here. And you see it with athletes in your box, because you're going fast. Don't turn that into a jerk.
No, and that's the thing. With the worm, it's really awkward because you need to open your hips. That's the key of where the judge is watching. They're watching the legs to stay straight and maintain full extension. But what's really hard is your taller athletes, because they need to get the worm over their head. They don't really need to drive their hips, because they don't want the worm to get so high that it's pushing weight on their other teammates. So watch Spencer Hendel. He's kind of cautious the way he gets it up and over. His arms never fully extend, and that's what makes it hard to not extend your arms and extend your legs.
Got a no rep there, and what happened there, they talked about in the athlete briefing, I believe it's the athlete on the far end, foot was over the line. You have to have that worm inside the solid lines. They're going to go 5 of the clean and push press, move it forward as they've already done here with the Reebok CrossFit 1 in the white and the red. Do the next 5 in the next segment. That just kind of helps our audience at home keep up with who is currently in the lead.
And that little mistake there really did open the window for the other teams to move into the same section. You can see Spencer's giving the okay. We're in the lane. We're in this section. We can move on. And they're maintaining the same pairs in this second round. Just
saw the leg temporary tattoo. They have those for the athletes this year so that you can identify everyone back home in your local box. So that was lane 10, Lucina Tachereau out of Brossard, Quebec City. And here is Reebok CrossFit 1 again, and that's Ashley Wisey, who's been to the games at individual in the team division, and then Cassandra Abini, their other female athlete. So they are on their second set here. And here we go again in lane 10. Lucina Tachereau, 10th in Canada. They were 61st worldwide. That box has some long games history. 3 appearances now. It's been a few years, 2013, 2012. Rosters changed down to 4, but that box is used to competing at a high level here.
And that means that all the athletes there are still competing there, and so when you're used to that caliber athlete you're in your training against, it just raises the bar for you. They're getting a couple no reps. The biggest thing is their chest has to touch at the top at the same time. That's what the judge is looking for. The female athlete is watching to make sure that that happens. But once you get fatigued, once you're tired, it's so hard to make that timing and your tempo stay on pace.
Spencer Hendel, Asa Maliala, they'll wait for their females to finish their pull-ups. All right, I want to ask you a question here, Tanya, when we got a second. You've been individual, obviously. You're a games champ. Of course, Apex went down to Atlanta a couple years ago. You put together a team. How difficult is it for individual athletes to, especially high-level individuals, to translate into a team? Because I think a lot of times the higher-level athlete it depends on them slowing down, being patient with the other athletes on the team.
It's just a completely different competition. When you're by yourself, when you're individual, it's all about your timing, your speed, and what you can do with your body. But when you're on the team, you have so many other elements, so many different people that you're also looking and you're aware of what they're doing, and it's more out of an all-out sprint. When it's your turn to go, you got to go, and then you realize that there's this wait period. So sometimes it's hard to wait and be patient and know it's not my turn yet. But when it is your turn, you got to move, and just the transitions are huge in a team competition. So definitely a different beast, more about the execution of the workouts than anything else.
And for the former individuals, well, you can really match your team up if you're trying to pull them at your pace.
It does. It's knowing your athletes, but it's knowing where you can use each other's strengths and weaknesses and just kind of capitalize on anybody's strengths if you have the opportunity to do that, depending on the event style.
Well, now there's Austin and Spencer. They'll get a little breather while the females finish up the run in the back on the air runner.
And also to your point, this is where we've seen Spencer and Austin rest a lot more. Usually your better athletes are the ones that are finished waiting for the weaker athletes, to call them that. And so in any competition or in any event that you see that, it's really hard because there's such a disparity between how hard different people are working. The weaker one is working so hard to catch up, while it's just making your stronger ones stronger when they get more time to rest.
Reebok CrossFit Run, they're the only team on the worm. Clean and push press are the white tops and the red shorts. They were 5th at the games a season ago in Madison, Wisconsin, now a 4-person team. And they'll try to make their way back to Madison. And the blue shorts, black tops, lane 3, that's CrossFit Queens. And down here in lane 10, out of Canada, Lucine Taschereau. So those are your top 3 right now. As you see, Reebok CrossFit 1 again in the white and the red. I like the way they're doing their clean and push presses. They're not trying to rush it. No reps are costly. They want to get it right.
You need to stay in sync. You have to have every rep count. It's wasted seconds for any no reps. So taking your time to make those clean reps are what the best teams do. And another difference, Jeff, is when they were at the games last year, there were 6 people. It's harder to coordinate and finagle that worm with 6 people. They're down to 4, easier to communicate with less people. But the worm now, it's a smaller worm this year. It weighs 358 pounds. There's the R there at the front of the worm, that weighs 100 pounds. That's a heavy section. So it goes a 100-pound section, 70-pound section, 100-pound section, and there's little 6-pound fillers in between as well. But I'm anxious to talk to some of these teams after they're competing here with 4 versus the 6, just to see the difference with, is it easier to communicate? Were they trying to go a little faster, or what the difference was with the 4 versus 6?
This is Lucine Taschereau again. 10th and Canada East are currently in 3rd because CrossFit Queens just got done with their 2nd round. So this team currently in 3rd place here in the Army green top. So again, it's Reebok CrossFit 1 and Team CrossFit Queens, so your top 2, and here we go, round 3, and they'll have Ashley Wazzy and Cassandra Advini. Here are the 2 females on the synchro chest-to-bar pull-ups. On the left side of your screen, there's Team CrossFit Queens in the blue shorts. They were 8th in the Northeast, 62nd worldwide, as they have some games experience. Amy Dracup, an individual games vet, is on this team. They were 26 in the games a season ago. So those are your top 2. The right side, Reebok CrossFit 1 in the red in 1st place. There's 6 overall with 75 points. CrossFit Queens needs a good heat here in a good event. They finished 16th. They've got 55 points. They can use some leaderboard points here in event 2.
And that's it. Depending on the team and depending on what they know their abilities are, they can really shake off that first event. It's done, and now we're going to see some of these other teams have the confidence because it's movements they can do. It's the worm that they know. So now we're going to see some other names shine because the hesitation and all that first event is done.
Bottom of your screen, that's Lucine Taschereau, who is now back. They're currently in 18th with 55 points, and they are currently 3rd overall. They are going to start their 3rd round as well. But your top 2 right here on your screen, right side, Reebok CrossFit 1, CrossFit Queens on the left side. And now, it looks like CrossFit Queens, depending on their runners, they are done with the chest-to-bar pull-ups, but chest-to-bar pull-ups usually going to be done a little bit quicker than that runner. Very important there, you saw Reebok CrossFit 1 on the right side. Once you pass each other and tag, they don't have to wait for the other pair to start running. They can get ahead and start on those pull-ups.
And the athletes here in Reebok CrossFit 1, they still have maintained the same pairs. I don't see a lot of changing here. A lot of the teams are sticking with the same pairs. And because as we move into the teams also, Heat 2, Heat 3, they're all similar ability levels. So maybe in Heat 4, round 4, they may have to make some changes, but so far everybody's plan is working here at the top. It looks like more of the time or the change in lead that happens because of the worm inefficiency or little mistakes with the worm. We saw Lucine Taschereau had a little bobble, and like when those kinds of things start to happen, that's where the tempo of working all 4 people together is really important. So right now the team seem to be doing really well with the pairs.
And so we are going for an event win here today, but the event record, Max Pohl's Spartans 16:56.36 earlier this morning, very early this morning here in the States, over in Europe.
And this is just a lot of chest to bar pull-ups. You know, we don't talk about the volume as much when we see the teams because typically you get to split the work, but I really like the way both pairs have to do both movements. It's not that you just get to do your better movement and leave the other one for someone else.
We've got a race now, and then both teams running to that worm. CrossFit Queens in the dark tops, blue shorts, and Reebok CrossFit 1 of the white tops, red shorts. They are eyeing each other down as we're in the back half of this 17-minute time cap. They're trying to finish up round number 3 as Reebok CrossFit 1 has to pull that worm all the way across that red line. That's going to be costly, and Queens picking up a rep or 2 on them. Actually should have a rep lead. The little things are the things that get you in these team events.
Reebok 1 taking their time there to pick that up, and look at the way Queens just moving right ahead. They really are holding on nicely.
This should be a great event. They were great with the worm a year ago in Madison at the games. Again, a little bit different dynamic, as you mentioned earlier, 4-person instead of the old 6-person team. That's different with the worm as well. Down to the last 5 reps here for CrossFit Queens on the left side of your screen. Then they'll advance it and get set for the round of 4. They're chasing a 17-minute time cap, trying to be the first team in the East to finish under the time cap.
Reebok's tempo really slowed down there. They waited a long time. You can watch the way they're breathing, hunched over. The fatigue is definitely setting in here, and they still have 1 round to go. It's going to be a race. And I think the way the pairings are working, Queen's pairings seem to be a little bit more level, where there's not one pair waiting as long for the other. So that bodes well for them when they get to the worm, because they both are more evenly taxed, where Austin and Spencer, they usually are waiting. They're a little more fresh. The ladies are the ones that are pretty taxed because they move right from one to the next without much rest.
Now here comes Reebok CrossFit 1. You can tell they're pretty gassed here. Their cardiovascular endurance being tested a lot here, and now the females will get back. There goes Austin and Spencer back to the runner, and we've not talked a lot about this. We'll talk more about this apparatus later in the triple threes and the individual events, but quickly, it's more about trying to slow yourself down and speed up on these.
It's an awkward device. If you've never run on an air runner, it pulls you in the way of that, the way you should really run, but not many people run the most perfect technique. So it really is like you're catching yourself as you get going and get that momentum going. It really is. It catches and it really blows up your legs a lot more because you're not able to slow yourself down and change the way in your form of running like you can by yourself if you're out on the road.
CrossFit Queens did a nice job. They'll take a calculated break as Deanna Gabaldi was on your right along one of their male athletes, and here's CrossFit Queens from the back trying to finish up the run. And as soon as they get off of this and switch up, then they'll be able to see if they can chase down an event record and at least get the event lead through 2 each. So I have one more heat coming up here. The CrossFit Queens, this will be big. Again, 16th place early in event 1 with 55 points. Still 500 points out there the rest of this weekend, including this event, but you don't want to fall too far in the hole on day 1.
And they are smoked. The ladies were having a little trouble just that last set that they did, keeping in sync. That one looked much better.
Amazing how well the synchronized movements have come around in the last couple of years since Dave Castro put them in. You know, if you're going to put a team together, there's going to be some synchro movements, whether they're handstand push-ups, whether they're burpees, whether they're chest-to-bar pull-ups. Everyone's practicing those now.
Toes-to-bar pull-ups are the first ones, the first movements we saw being synchronized. So yes, that is the first thing people, when they come to a team, it's like, well, come on over, let's see what we can do with our pull-ups.
Might have an issue here on the assault runner. Again, that's CrossFit Queens, and that was Deanna Gavalli throwing her arms up. You've got to wait till it hits 0 now till you get off of that thing. They're in lane 3. They currently have the lead here in heat number 2, and they've got just a little bit over a minute remaining with a 17-minute time cap. If they advance that worm into the final 5, they'll have the event lead here, though, in the East region. The red zone got it into the 3rd round, didn't move it forward in the 4th on the worm, but they can get to the worm and move it. They'll be in decent shape. CrossFit Queens, here's Reebok CrossFit 1 again. As Spencer Hendel and Asamaliano keeping these sets short now. Less than a minute remaining in the 17-minute time cap, 40 seconds to go.
There's no need for Austin and Spencer to push it here on the pull-ups. They've always had plenty of time in the previous 3 rounds, so they're just playing it smart. No need to blow out, because it's really up to their ladies and how fast they can run.
All right, Queens has to be aware of what happened in heat number 1. They need to get down there. They've got 20 seconds to grab as many as they clean and push presses as they can. See if they can at least get 5 and advance it forward. That's 1. They've got 10 seconds remaining. Regardless, they're going to be in the top 5 overall. No rep. He stepped out of the lane. You've got to stay within the black lines, and we're coming up on the time cap. So they got into the 4th round and got 1 of the clean and presses. So they should, I believe, unofficially, if they don't have the overall lead, they're one of the top 5. We'll wait until the official results are posted on games.crossfit.com, but CrossFit Queens will win this heat. And that was a really fun race between them and Reebok CrossFit 1.
It was a really nice race. And there at the end, it was just the pressure of the clock got to them. They weren't able to go as slow as they needed to. And that's what happens with the worm. That's what happens when one person's able to push a little harder and you're just not in sync. There's a big mess that happens with that worm, and that's kind of fun to see, though.
Well, it was a nice race, but CrossFit Queens edges out Reebok CrossFit 1 with 1 heat remaining. Heat 3 is on the way from Albany, New York. Welcome back inside the Time Union Center in Albany, New York, as we get set for the final heat of event number 2 of team competition from the CrossFit Games East Regional. I'm Jeff Private alongside Tanya Wagner. We'll hear later from Nick Zielinski on the competition floor. Well, we've had 1 event already completed today, and here's how they stack up here for event number 2 and the standings. And Pro 1 Montreal got a huge event record and a more important 100 points.
And that is so important to start your weekend out on top. No surprise that they are among the top, but they also have CrossFit Milford and Invictus Boston, who is previously CrossFit Back Bay, which we are familiar with here in the East region. Team Fraternity, and these are all of the teams that we will be seeing right here in this heat. What the teams are going to have here is 4 rounds of pairs. The pairs are going to do a 200-meter run on the air runner. The other pair will be doing 25 synchronized chest-to-bar pull-ups, and the teams can choose whichever pairs they want, male-female pairs or male-male, female-female. But once they complete their designated movement, they will switch, and the runners will go to chest-to-bar pull-ups. The chest-to-bar pull-ups will go to the run. And then they will all advance onto the 10 worm clean and push press over on the worm. They'll do that, and then they're going to go back, do that for 3 more rounds.
Here's how they will line up for this heat, and it's CrossFit Milford in lane 1. They are 2nd overall, 95 points. Invictus Boston in lane 2 right next, and they're 5 points back in 3rd, but it's Pro 1 Montreal in lane number 6 with the 100 points and the 1st place.
Among these teams, we have the most games experience, and so these teams all know how to move the worm. They didn't know in the first event what they were, against that apparatus, but they know what they're up against with this worm.
Underway, so a pair will go to the rig, the rogue rig, and the other pair will get on the assault runners. And we are underway. There is Pro 1 Montreal on your right in the dark shorts, and Fraternity on your left in lane number 5. Fraternity Fourth place with 85 points. So they are right now in a qualifying spot.
They just squeaked in their last athlete, just at the last possible seconds there to get their team to finish. But when it comes to this worm, we are going to see a much different. I want you to watch when we get there at the way that they work together, the synchronization between all 4 members of the team, the way they stay tempoed, and the pacing in which the worm touches the ground and they pick it right back up. There won't be as much wait time between reps.
I thought it was a great juxtaposition of events today for Dave Castro in day 1 of the regional on these tests. First test today, earlier today, there was some work capacity early on, but it came down to the gymnastics skill. This event, in event 2, the test is work hard. You got to put your head down and kind of go to that dark place.
You also have some room to strategize in this event too, which I like. You know, if some things start to fall apart or somebody gets tired, you have the ability to make some changes, and you don't have to stick with exactly the same pairs. Hey, adapt on the fly. If things aren't working out the way you guys strategize, you can adjust that. And I do like that element here.
Team Fraternity out of Superhero CrossFit in Coast, New York. They were number 1 in the Northeast, 10th worldwide. They've got some veterans on this team, and the fraternity name you'll recognize, 12 in the 2015 games. They've had some games experience, and of course, again with the new format, rosters changed, but that box, Superhero CrossFit, a proud box, they've had some experience in Carson in 2015.
Well, and I just wonder with those teams like that have such a deep bench, you know, what's the feeling there when you hear that there's going to be a 4-man team and all of a sudden 2 of the really good athletes that could also be on your team, they're not going to be there. Like, what does that do to the morale? I mean, that makes your 4 people step up even more to want to shine on the team. And I'm glad to see them back, and I'm really anxious to see what they do the rest of the weekend here.
And that box out of Co-host New York, all 4 members, top 66 in the Northeast as individuals. Here we go down to lane number 1, CrossFit Milford, and they probably have the most experience as far as getting CrossFit Milford to the games. They have been on the podium, including a 2nd place before. They are currently in 2nd overall, 95 points. They were 5th in the Northeast, 42nd worldwide. They just do such an outstanding job at Milford. Just very consistent despite the makeup of different team members each year.
Yeah, their communication, their coach is Jason Layden, and he's been around forever, since way back in the day, and so he just does a really nice job of keeping his team together. And it's a team that always works well together. They're prepared. Mentally, they always come in very strong. They seem to always hold it together, even when things maybe don't go as well as planned. Even just like that, they adapted and they moved and make the adjustment they needed. We're seeing a lot of the teams though not realizing where they are in that section. It's like the guy up front doesn't realize how small the box is, and they could really take that step forward.
Well, and the athlete breathing today, Chuck Carswell told them, you got to be very specific. It's not just inside the red line and that back black line. You've got to keep it on that rubber matting in the lane. You cannot be out of bounds whatsoever, the start or the finish of that clean and push press. As we move back to lane number 6, Pro 1 Montreal. They finished and got the event record in event 1 earlier today, and right now they have the overall lead with 100 points. Is very smooth on these synchronized chest to bar pull-ups. Number 1 in Canada East, 8th worldwide. So not only is Pro 1 thinking, get to Madison, they're going to be a contender if they get through this to maybe podium once they get to the games. You got to get to the regionals first. Nothing's a given.
Well, and that's what's so impressive with the East when I looked at the teams. And I mean, to have 4 of the teams that we have here in the top 20 from the Worldwide Open is very impressive. So not only are they great teams worldwide, but they're getting to go against each other, which is a good test for themselves as well to see where they stand against other good competition.
And the athletes looking, I guess, as comfortable as you possibly can right now on the runner. No super fatigue here as they are underway in round number 2.
This event is one that really, as you go, it just hurts more. You have to do the same amount of work. There's nothing that's getting better about this. The reps don't decrease. It stays the exact same. So the only way that you can get any reprieve if you need it is maybe you go to pull-ups first instead of you going back to the runner, but you're going to still have to run at some point, so you can't get away from any of these movements.
So those Milford athletes done to the pull-ups, they'll wait on their runners in the background. And again, for the most part, you've seen it reverse a little bit, Tanya. For the most part, the teams early in the first 2 rounds, the pair doing the pull-ups finish first, and then kind of magically in round 3, the runners get done a little bit more as that fatigue sets in on the pull-ups.
It is a lot of just about pull-ups, but just about
members made up of regional veterans. I don't believe they have any of the veterans from the Games team, but they have been to the Games twice as Pro 1 Montreal. Just 6 minutes into this event, it's a 17-minute time cap. If anyone finishes in Heat 3, they'll have the overall lead. We've seen Red Zone, they won Heat 1. We saw Queens, they won Heat number 2. And again, all the official information and times on games.crossfit.com. But this is the final heat of the final event of day number 1, and here we go. Pro 1 Montreal, they had the event record earlier today, and the top team in Canada East on those worm, clean, and presses.
They had a great transition. They ran to the worm. As soon as they came off the runner, they went right to it and got right to work.
Saw the judge there explain that it's going to be fully extended. Don't jerk. And now we see CrossFit Milford. They move forward there on the left, kind of in the red and white color scheme. Out of Milford, Connecticut, 5th in the Northeast, 42nd in the worldwide. They're pretty good at the worm, a lot of experience. Nick Zielinski, you're on the competition floor, and we've seen this Milford team a lot of times.
And right next to them is Invictus.
Yeah, Jeff, you mentioned it. The experience becomes vital. The worm has been a staple for teams at regionals and the games, multiple events, and it's become paramount team strategy and team communication. We saw in the last heat CrossFit Queens, Reebok CrossFit 1, and now Milford. Their strategy and their communication has become the reason why they do so well. Milford finished at the games last year in the 4th and 22nd in a tie for 6th in those worm events. You can go as fast as you want on chest to bar and running, but as soon as you get to the worm, if you're not talking, you're not communicating, that apparatus can sink you. So something to watch as he's taking forward Milford with that great experience should pay off for them in this event.
Thanks a lot, Nick. And you just saw next to Milford, Invictus Boston has moved into 2nd place. Invictus Boston, that was CrossFit back May last year. They were 11th in the games. Kelsey Kill, Brianna Hamilton, Tola Baraquino, and Nathan McCabe. They know what it takes. They want to get back. I think they feel they have something to prove after missing that final heat of the games last year.
And the guts that they just showed on the worm was very impressive. The way that they moved ahead of Milford there. Their tempo on the worm still looked great. I don't know if they can keep that pace. I don't know if they'll be able to catch Pro 1 Montreal, but we'll have to wait and see.
Well, they closed the gap, so we'll see here before they get to the 4th and final round. They're in round number 3 again, a 17-minute time cap. You know, the heat we did earlier, Reebok CrossFit 1 was kind of moving along, and then all of a sudden here came Queens, and they chased them down. We'll see if Invictus Bosses can chase down Pro 1 Montreal.
And that just shows what team has the endurance, what team can still keep that tempo and keep that speed 15 minutes into this event.
And you're just past the halfway point of a 17-minute time cap. And all the teams except for 1, or for 2, have advanced that worm into the 3rd section. And now just 1 team remaining still on round number 2. Now we're starting to see fatigue really set in on these runners. And as we talked about earlier, you got to try to really slow yourself down.
Well, the weaker athlete, or the one that is not as strong on each movement, they're the one that's going to get taxed more. So over the duration of 4 rounds, you're going to see that fatigue in that athlete even more than in your stronger athlete, because they're pushing so hard to keep the pace with the stronger, faster athlete.
Here's Pro 1 Montreal. Again, you see that 2-time games experience. They haven't been there in a couple of seasons. They were one of the big dogs for a while. Everyone, you recognize that.
Athletes on the runners are each going to complete 200 meters. On the pull bar is 25 synchronized chest to bar for those swamp laces.
The running pair at this point, we talked about it in the 2nd round, how the runners will get done before the pull-up pair. Now slow down.
Gives you a chance to breathe there, but I can't say you're getting much of a breath while you're on the air runner. it's almost hard. It's difficult to go at a slower pace on the runner. There is a tempo that you can run that you just feel like it moves better. So the slower you go, it just throws off your pacing. So even if they want to go slower, it's still hard to do.
Max Pulse Spartans just got the event record today. They got the event record, but they got in just under the cabin.
170-pound sandbags in there and a bunch of little 6-pounders juggled in there. But it'll be Pro
1 Montreal, they're jogging, and that is a team that knows where it wants to be. They're doing this test with intention. They got the lead, but they still ran to the water. They couldn't just walk. Let's listen to this thing. That is a heavy work, 358 pounds. Trying to get a touch and go. It's tough to do.
Communication in the first rep or two, but then fell apart there.
Believe what the judge is telling them. Someone in their team is resting that one shoulder, getting a kick off of the thighs that keep Here's Invictus Boston. Invictus Boston a year ago, 11th of the game, and again, they were sitting in good position last year to get into that final event before they made the top 10 cut. They just missed it. So I really think they're on a mission this year.
Yes, that communication too that you see, the intensity in which they're moving the worm. Watch the way, the speed the worm comes up. They all attack at the right time. And the hand signals are key. Quick rotation and right up for 2. And they should signal when they're going to go for it.
They're making a statement. They moved into first place, and they've got at least a 5-rep lead on everyone. It's Pro 1 Montreal all of a sudden has kind of hit a bit of a wall there in lane number 6.
Their communication and experience for Invictus on that one is amazing, and that is where we've seen them just creep up little by little.
Invictus is in 3rd place. They've got 90 points in the bag from event number 1 earlier today. They were 4th in the Northeast, 33rd. And Pro 1 Montreal has fallen to 3rd in lane number 7. East Woodbridge, another familiar name out of Reebok CrossFit. East Woodbridge in Woodbridge, Ontario, that finished 2nd in Canada East, has moved into 2nd place. So you've got Invictus Boston, East Woodbridge, Pro 1 Montreal. That is your top 3. And here is Invictus Boston again under the name Back Bay last year. They're still out of CrossFit Invictus Back Bay in Boston, Massachusetts. A little less than 4 minutes remaining in a 17-minute gap. There is lane number 8. It's the back. Here's East Woodbridge starting to make a bit of a move. Again, out of Woodbridge, Ontario, they missed the games by 1 spot last year. So close.
That's the fuel that they are riding on all year, though. We missed by that close. That is what's going to push you. I don't want to feel like that next year. We don't want to feel like that, so let's push a little harder. Let's see what we can do this year. And then they're down to 4 people, which also makes a difference as well.
And they're not in bad shape. 8th place early today, a top 10, 71 points. Back to Invictus Boston now in the all black. Smart move by the females. They're far enough ahead. They've got one just kind of walking back there. That's Kelsey Kill to finish up her 200 meters. And Brianna Hamilton, they'll walk forward now, and they will wait for their males to finish. They'll tag out, and now they'll go back.
They are working like a team. Even though it's pairs, you don't ignore the other pair. I love the way that they do that. They watch each other. They see where they're at. There's no need, to get ahead of yourself. You're still working as a 4-man team. Pay attention. That's the kind of communication and the little things that matter in the teams. The top line of the teams, it really comes down to all the little stuff that makes them work and mesh so well together.
And we just got a little more fitness on the right. You always get a turbo boost when you strip the shirt off. And so that is the Invictus team. The runners, the 2 males on the right side, the 2 females on the left. There is East Woodbridge again, and they will switch up. They will make the tag. And so East Woodbridge currently in 2nd place. They have quietly just kind of made the move as we all watch Pro 1 and then Invictus Boston and East Woodbridge just kind of hovering there. We'll see if they can make a big sprint here with about 2 minutes to go.
Well, and that's the pacing. That's what comes down to the pacing of what can we hold on to. They practice this event, no doubt. But when you come into the element of competition in the arena with the music, with everybody announcing, it's hard to sometimes hold back your tempo and your pace.
So less than 2 minutes remaining in the gap. And again, Invictus Boston with the lead here in heat 3 as their females are at the top of your screen checking on the males who are now walking on the runner because they're trying to get some rest here while Brianna Hamill and Kelsey Keel will finish up the pull-ups. And it looks like they are ready, and as soon as they get Tola and Nathan to come up, they'll be able to make their way down the floor. Here they go. And the overall lead, they are just increasing that lead. They've got a little over a minute to get as many of these clean and presses as they can. I don't know if they're going to be able to get down and get 10 reps and finish this and get the event record, but they can take the event win here in the East, and that's all they should care about.
But when you're that close, at this point, you just want to wrap up those last couple reps.
So let them get 5 here. Touch and go. And back comes Pro One Montreal back into second place, so they overtake East Woodbridge.
Pro One has to hold together.
And they're going to have a chance to make it run the event record. 16:58.6 is that event record. Should do it. So Invictus Boston came in the third. They got the event record by about 13 seconds. They'll remain in the top 5, and they will get 100 points. And they're going to move up this league. Whether they take Pro and the time cap comes up. Pro One Montreal should get 95 points. So I believe Pro One's going to keep the overall lead, but Invictus Boston will be moving up into second place.
That was one heck of a fight in a composed race and push at the end. With the clock, they only had a minute to get the 10. They really pulled it together and held it together for that final 10 worm clean and push press. That was great to see at the end.
And that was a smart play to walk to the worm. I thought walking to the worm might cost them, but it did not. They gave him enough recovery to do the touch and goes, move it forward for the last 5, and 16:41.89 now the event record for Invictus Boston. They smashed the event record from Europe.
Under that kind of pressure for the team to hold it together with all 4 people, that was what impresses me so much about that team. Well, early on in the event, it was really about what pairs you picked. Who's going to go out first with the runner, with the chest bar pull-ups. Pick the right pairs for this event, and you'll do well with these movements and not waste too much time. But when you get to the worm, it is all about staying in sync, and that was what we saw this event really did come down to, how efficient they were on the worms. The teams that could communicate, that stayed together with their tempo, their timing, stayed even within their lanes. Those were the teams that did the best, and the best team that did that was CrossFit Invictus, Boston Invictus. They did an excellent job of communicating, and their speed when they got to the worm, they did not waste time. They were very efficient with that worm. And it was round 3 where they took the lead and they held it to the end because of that composure on the worm.
Well, for teams competing over the next 2 weeks and maybe even in the South later today that have to attack this event, this is textbook how to go through event number 2, and they are downstairs with Nick Zielinski.
Invictus Boston, event 2, quite a performance for you guys. Unofficially, an event record. Why were you able to be so successful in this event?
A lot of practice with the worm every day, and just trusting that we could pace it correctly and not worry about teams beating us up front.
What becomes the most important strategy of working with that worm?
Definitely just having good communication with your team and making sure everyone knows when to pick it up at the same time, and having that trust that we can finish strong like we did.
Day 1 in the books, 2 events down out of 6. How do you guys keep this momentum going throughout the weekend?
It's always good to have a good day 1, but it takes 3 good days, and we're really excited to get after the next 2.
Invictus Boston, go rest. We'll see you all tomorrow. Congratulations.
Thank you, Nick. A pair of top threes, third place in event 1, and they get 100 points in event number 2. So they'll have 190 points after day number 1. That wraps it up for team competition from Albany. We'll have individuals a little bit later. We'll start it out with those triple threes, but with more information on Europe and the South and the other regionals, let's go to the Update Studio.